YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back after a Tuesday night game. Rare Tuesday night game between the Bills and the Titans. A bit of a shocker. I'm here to give you the takeaways on that, my takeaways, and we had a Monday night game that, while we're here, I'll give you some quick takeaways on that game, the Saints and Chargers as well. So real quick, not like my normal recap, we normally, once the last games end, I'm just in the next week mode. So week 6 mode is where we're heading here. So I normally don't recap these last games, talk a little bit about them in the podcast, but we recap all the Sunday games, we recap Thursday games, none this week. All kinds of predictions, power rankings. Power rankings come out tomorrow. Titans really gonna be moving up on those. We'll see where they end up there. So battle for the top spot. Can't wait for those. But we got all kinds of content. Follow that Twitter to get more involved. Instagram, podcast, Patreon, 60K subscriber goal. You guys know the drill. Patreon has a bunch of extra content every single week, more than what's just on the screen. There's a link down below. Check it out. Help support us. Let's start with the game that just ended here with Tennessee Titans romping the Bills 42-16. Nobody could have predicted this. I was starting to feel the Titans' chances, were much better seeing, the guys that were hurt for the Bills. But first, let me say this. There's some guys that went out for the Bills that didn't play for the Bills, I should say. They were hurt. Tre'Davious White's a big one. John Brown, pretty big one, the number 2 receiver. Matt Milano was out. So, Quinton Spain, former Titan. Quite a few crucial guys. So the Bills weren't at full strength today. So let's get that out of the way. But that doesn't change that the Titans were nowhere near full strength and that they were very, very impressive in this game. Lack of practice over the last couple of weeks, you worry about rust. If the team lost, that probably would have been, no matter the team, that probably would have been an excuse. But the Titans went out there and dominated, didn't really miss those players. I mean, they got practice squad receivers out there playing, and Tannehill's dealing to them. A.J. Brown, it's good to have him back, their best receiver. He was fantastic. Had one pretty bad drop, but cleaning up the rust a little bit. Had some big-time plays after that. Jeffrey Simmons has been by far their best defensive player so far this early stage of the year. He's been fantastic. They're missing him. But like I said, the receivers, they're missing Corey Davis. They're missing Adam Humphries. So that is the reason why some Khalif Raymond's solid. It's got some guys like that are solid, but then it's some practice squad caliber receivers out there. And Tannehill's still dealing. He was using his legs. So it's just so impressive what the Titans were able to do. And I hyped them up this offseason because it's a very complete, it's a football team. It's a football team, well coached, very complete team with a lot of talent. And even when guys are out, they still got enough talent to beat a really good Bills team. Bills are the same thing as the Titans. They're pretty similar teams. They're pretty complete. They both missed some guys. They had some guys. Out, and they just still go out and dominate. So you just love to see it. A good team show up like that, and you see why they're towards the top in my head. Could consider, heavyweight. I know you got maybe the Chiefs up there, the Packers. I would throw the Titans in that mix. I think they're that good. I think people were judging them too much off of, in the offseason, Will Tannehill, was that a fluke? Was it not? I didn't believe it was a fluke, and we kind of saw that in a game like this. I mean, he didn't have to go all out. He got to use his legs a little bit. People worried that Henry, would he have to carry? You can see in this game, doesn't need to carry. People kind of worried after the first couple weeks. They didn't beat certain teams by a certain amount of points. Ridiculous. The first couple weeks don't really tell us much. You just get out with a win. That's plain and simple what it is. And that's what Titans did. So Titans are very impressive. I still like the Bills. They weren't at full strength, but that's really not why they lost this game. They were pretty sloppy. Josh Allen was off his game. Let's start from the beginning here. Right off the bat, pretty much, you got a Josh Allen interception. It's behind Andre Roberts. Does hit him in the hands. Malcolm Butler picks it off, who had 2 picks. We'll talk about the other one, but had 2 picks in this game, so that was huge. Right spot, right time. And the second one was a little better because he read the quarterback. He read Josh Allen. But the first one, first glance, you could, right off the bat, and I'm tweeting during all these games, right off the bat, you see it's behind, but it does hit the guy in the hands. And I'm thinking it's on both from first glance. It's on both guys pretty evenly. After seeing it again, I put it more on Josh Allen because if you watch it again, Roberts actually almost anticipated that throw in a way, I guess right when it was let go. He slowed up big time and started to turn his body. Remember, his momentum's going away. He started to turn his body earlier than most receivers for some reason in that scenario would happen, and it was still behind him. So it did hit Roberts' hands, so some blame goes to him. Still, that ended up in the defender's hands, but that ball was a little behind. But I'm not really worried about that. I really like Josh Allen. I really like the way he's been playing this year. Not the best game for him, but I'm not really worried. But that one's definitely, more on him. And then the Titans capitalize on that. They throw that fade to A.J. Brown. Pressure was instantly, I guess pressure in a way. The pocket was collapsed instantly, and that's the difference between good quarterbacks, bad quarterback. I mean, there's multiple ways you can figure that out. You can split up the men from the boys, the quarterback position, but that's one of them. When a pocket is collapsing, it doesn't necessarily mean you're about to get sacked or it's not necessarily pressure. Pocket instantly collapsed. Tannehill stayed perfectly calm. He knew he wasn't getting sacked. But if you held the ball for too long, he probably would have. And then unleashed a perfect dime to A.J. Brown over Josh Norman. And then, Tre'Davious White being out of the game kind of hurt them. But then you kind of play scenarios. If Tre'Davious White was in, would he have been there? I think he would have been on A.J. Brown. I think they may have, but what if Corey Davis is in the game? I think the Titans would have sent that to Corey Davis on Josh Norman perhaps. But either way, and Tre'Davious White's a very good corner. He could have made the play if it was thrown there. It's very hard to defend a perfect ball. Corners can only do so much. And I'm not saying I'm saying he definitely could have, but very hard position to play. That was just a perfect ball. So credit goes there to Ryan Tannehill. So they get off, strong. The Bills were rolling then, offensively. When I didn't like these random run calls. But they were getting these third down conversions. Josh Allen doing some elite things. Escaping sacks, moving outside the pocket, throwing on the run. His accuracy on the run is next level. It's ridiculous. He had one to Roberts on third down that was just perfect, beautiful sideline. And it's not an easy catch, so it was a good catch too. But that's exactly where it needs to be. I think a third down before that, he escaped a Vaccaro blitz, good blitz call. He was way too high. Escaped that juke Harold Landry. Nothing surprising what Josh Allen does. So those are some magnificent plays there by him. Yeah, he had elite plays, but then he had kind of the messy plays. He was actually fortunate. He probably didn't throw more picks in this game at times. And maybe there was plays where he, maybe if he had a guy like John Brown, could have made these plays. Another thing I'll bring up, though, John Brown was their number one receiver last year. They didn't have Diggs last year, and they still found ways to win that game. So that's why, yes, they are for sure better with John Brown. This wasn't the full-strength Bills. I'm not going to judge them for the future off this game, really. I'll keep some things in mind for sure. But yeah, last year they found ways to win without Diggs. Diggs is their best receiver. He's one of the best in all of football right now. He might be playing like the very best. He had a pretty big game. You see the trust. I noticed that a lot. Josh Allen has in Stephon Diggs. He kind of has no time to throw it, and he can't roll out. He has to throw it. He sees Diggs breaking, so it's smart on both of them. You see the trust. You see how good a receiver Diggs is. So he had his explosive plays there. He had a pretty big game. There is really not much that stood out in this game. I guess the pass protection, but that's more on the Titans. I'm going to knock the Titans in. It's the only way I can knock the Titans in this game is mainly Vrabel, with the three-man rush, pass rushes or three-man rush plays, which he has done in the past, and they can be pretty sneaky, if he throws in some blitzes. But there was one the Bills scored on late that, I think it's just the DBs had to cover for too long. You only can cover for, no matter how good you are, you only can cover for so long. So I don't really like those. But then, guys like Clowney and Harold Landry did get a sack. That was a big-time sack, really deep. Those guys could get more pressure. I'm not really worried. I think Clowney's a guy that'll pick it up. This is a unique scheme system, and they'll find you. And he's a unique player, so they'll find ways to use him better. As other teams did as the year goes on. And remember, everybody didn't have preseason, so everyone's even playing field. But Clowney didn't have practice, and it might be his own fault. But he didn't. At the end of the day, he didn't practice all offseason. I think 1 week. So I think he'll get better. But now's the time he can start getting more pass rush here. I think. Kind of going back, the Bills were kind of rolling. Some really good special teams plays for the Titans, kind of set them up pretty good. Some good field position. I think the field position battle was won by the Titans. Turnover battle was won. Some sloppy penalties on the Bills, so that was one on the Titans side as well. That was the difference. But the Bills, for a second there, really looked like they were going to take control of this game. There's just too much, and what I've been talking about, too much of a variety of this offense, so much that Josh Allen can do, that that they were going to win, as it kind of would have felt like for a little bit there, even though the Titans were playing fantastic. But they kind of locked it down. I don't know. They were just tight in coverage. Josh Allen was a little sloppy with the ball. I wish they would have went with a little more quicker reads, a little quick game there, because they were kind of playing deep on Diggs, but they were kind of bracketing him, really, guy underneath and a guy deep. So it was a little sneaky, but for the most part, they were worried a little more about him deep. So I wish they would have done a little more quick, when Allen's a little off target, when other guys aren't getting open because he really only has Diggs, Beasley, those guys. That's what you got to do. The run game's really not working there. They really can't get anything going. I don't know if the blocking's not necessarily bad. It's not good, but there's much, much worse in the NFL with running backs doing more damage. So, if this team had a really good number one back that has receiving ability, they'd be scary, the Bills. So they actually could be looking for that, even though they just drafted Singletary and Moss. Those guys might be really, really good rotation guys, like top-end rotation guys. But are they lead back on an potential elite team here? That's kind of the question. Moss has been hurt, though, so I guess we'll see more of him. But that's kind of my concern of him out of Utah was the durability. So they couldn't really get Singletary going. Play calling I've loved this year. This one, it's not why they lost, but it could be better. Again, they could get some quicker plays going. They could, I think decisions on runs. The one drive early they came out where they were looking pretty good. And the next drive they got the ball. You expect them to continue to look good, and they ran on first and second, and then that kind of shut down the drive. So I don't really agree with that. But did that decide the game? No, it didn't decide the game. Josh Allen was kind of just messy with the ball in this game, and I'm not really worried long term, but you kind of could expect that to come up. The next interception was, maybe he expected Davis to run a different route. I've always hated that excuse. I mean, you can go back to me saying it a million times in the past. You have eyes. The quarterback has eyes. You just don't throw it directly at the other team. There was a little bit of miscommunications there. Malcolm Butler read that pretty well. It was a free interception, but you kind of got to go back and look what he did. He read Josh Allen. If he's not able to read the quarterback there, he can't make that play. And it's very hard. Your number one objective is play the receiver, but the next guys up, the better guys can also read the quarterback. Sometimes guys, we even seen when we're talking about the Saints game, Patrick Robinson let up a touchdown on Mike Williams because he was only focused on the quarterback. So Malcolm Butler was able to do both there. He kind of bailed on the receiver because he saw what was happening. And that's just instincts. That's instincts and having that experience, I guess. So Malcolm Butler still got that in his game there. So that's fantastic. And then the Titans just started rolling. Derrick Henry, I forgot to talk about that when it didn't even count when he just threw Norman, but that made me get out of my seat. That gets you excited about the game of football. I know Bills fans probably weren't excited, but that's something that's just got to get you excited there. It didn't count, but that's one of the better stiff arms I've ever seen. So then Henry started getting going, had some pretty big runs, nothing, and not big, like long, but some crucial ones, important ones. He showed up in the important times. Early, he didn't look that explosive through the hole because he usually hits the hole with some explosiveness. For some reason, I guess the hole wasn't there. But usually he hits it anyways because he's that type of dude. But he was really starting to do that later in the game. That's what resulted in those crucial runs. But getting Jonnu Smith involved, getting A.J. Brown involved, fantastic. Ryan Tannehill using his legs. And talking about how they kind of had a poor receiver unit today. They kind of did. Even though A.J. Brown was fantastic, Khalif Raymond can step up. Other guys could step up because they're a really good team. But the unit really wasn't that great on paper, obviously. And that was good for Tannehill running because I think he almost knew in the back of his mind before the play started, that he was going to probably have to take off. You got A.J. Brown. He's not really open. I'm going to go. And it was kind of open. Bills get a little sloppy on that. Yeah, they'll get some guys back, but they've been a little sloppy on that most of the time this year, even when they were healthier or not. It just felt like, to me, it felt like maybe a guy like Poyer. I like Tremaine Edmonds a lot, but it felt like in this specific game, Poyer was kind of cleaning up some slack, cleaning those plays up or trying to at least. Edmonds did, he's a great player, but he did make a good stop at one point in the game. Game just happened. Pretty good pass breakup. I remember, that was pretty, not really crucial in the end, but yeah, pressure-wise, maybe they don't get enough of it, but the Titans' offensive line's so good. Taylor Lewan gets back in there. That was good to see because that could hurt them if he was out. But yeah, Titans' offensive line won the battle. That's something that stands out too. But I don't think the stats will show it, how good Tannehill played. I think I already said that. just to think about, Derrick Henry didn't play his full game. Tannehill kind of didn't really need to play his full, because we all know he could have kept successfully passing the ball and running the ball, and they still scored 42 points. They still dominated a really, really good team, and that's kind of the main thing about the Titans. Too many crucial mistakes. Even when the game was over, they were making some bad mistakes. They got a roughing the passer when they had him stop for a field goal. None of these things would have mattered in the end, but it's all like kind of goes together. It kind of builds up. So, yeah, fantastic game by the Titans. Bills, I'm not really worried. I'm not going to like have any takeaways, in terms of predicting the future for the Bills off this game. There's some things I talked about they need to clean up. It's not going to be a surprise if Allen plays like an elite quarterback at times and plays like this at times. It shouldn't be that much of a surprise. Hopefully they get healthier. But then again, the Titans weren't healthy either. But just for their sake, just so we can see a great team in full strength. So a dominant win by the Titans to see where they'll move up in the power rankings tomorrow. They're gonna move up. We know that. Real quick on the Monday night game. I usually don't recap Monday night games because we're just on to the next week. We're in the next week mode. So much content to get to, and we talk about it in the podcast, which is usually Wednesday nights. We might skip the podcast this week because all of that content we got to get to. A lot has to be done. Got pushed back because of the Tuesday night game. But this was a really good game. The Chargers kind of choked this one away, though. Let's be honest here. The Chargers should have won this game based on how the game was going. Let me say this about the Saints, though. They started pretty slow. If they clean that slop up, then you could say they can win in regulation, and they probably will. And that's because they're a good team. They're better than the team that started in this game. So you could say the Chargers should have won this game. The Chargers kind of choked this one away. They outplayed the Saints for most of this game. I agree with that. But the Saints... again, if you're the better team, if you don't start so damn sloppy like they did against the Lions as well. They won that game because they were the better team, So, I think they'll clean that up a little bit. Breeze has been a little shaky here and there. I think he's just aging a little bit, but you see he kind of steps up and then pushes through that. Everyone calling for Jameis Winston. I was saying if Breeze is going to throw in the interception he threw, if he was going to throw an interception like that, if he's going to throw like several of those, then you might as well, but it's not something I expected or did even happen again. So you see why he stays in. I don't think there was ever a question. Try to sum this one up real quick. First players that stood out. Let's talk about that. Uchenna Nwosu really stood out to me for the Chargers. Was a pass deflection machine at USC, and in his limited snaps of the Chargers so far, he's been that again. He just knows the quarterback, knows how to read the quarterback where the ball's going to go. And he's getting some good pressure now, too, so it's good to see that because he was kind of the guy to USC. Is this guy an edge rusher? Is he an off the ball outside? What is this guy? What is this guy? And they're kind of getting him to work in the Melvin Ingram spot, so it's hard to replace Melvin Ingram, but he did a pretty good job in this game. I think he got hurt late in this game, so hopefully he's all right. Believe it. Keenan Allen looked great right off the bat. He was, forcing a guy like Marshawn Lattimore to chase him right off the bat. And it was unfortunate that he got hurt. That definitely could have helped him win this game. So I had him on my fantasy team and ended up losing barely too. So he got 9 points while playing, 2 drives. So that was unfortunate. Herbert looked fantastic, throwing the ball downfield. I think there's moments where he just needs to throw the ball away. He just tries to play hero a little bit. Same thing at Oregon. I don't know if that's really his thinking, like I'm going to be a hero, but I think you know what I mean. He had one later that was really bad. Malcolm Jenkins dropped the routine interception. So just things like that popped up in late every game. They continue to pop up. Can we eliminate those things? Kind of just throw the ball away. But fantastic game from Herbert. Tough kid. The arm talent is ridiculous. I mean, it was ridiculous the first time he stepped on the field at Oregon. We all knew that. So that was fantastic. Some really good deep balls. Where I will praise Justin Herbert here is you kind of wondered, is he a one-read quarterback? How long will he be a one-read quarterback for? Will he, because he kind of was at Oregon. But I think he's already proven that he's way more than that. I think he had, we almost talked about in the last game, actually, we're talking about the last game, but Patrick Robinson kind of blew some coverage against Mike Williams. He was reading the quarterback, forgot about the receiver. The receiver ran a simple vert, so that's kind of hard to do to just forget about the receiver on that one. Didn't do anything fancy, but he was trying to focus on the quarterback there, which I like his thinking. You do want to practice that to be a great corner. But he obviously got fooled by Herbert, and Herbert looked off his first read and threw that read. He had to scan the field to do that, and that's fantastic to see from a young rookie that got thrown into an interesting situation, not even week one. So that is where I will praise him. That's where I'm very excited for him, which I think most people aren't really talking about that. People are kind of just wow about the ball velocity. that was there the second he stepped on the field at Oregon. It's nothing new. That's where his that's his only talent, through Oregon. That's really the only thing you can go off of in terms of the positives. So now we're starting to see more positives. It's fantastic. He did plenty enough to win this game. I mean, if he would have thrown the interception on Malcolm Jenkins, then maybe we would be talking about how he kind of blew it at the end there a little bit. But a fantastic game. He did enough to win this game. Play calling was pretty bad. I mean, I've definitely seen worse, but it wasn't good. Just insisting on runs. You had a comfy lead, so you just kind of get... I mean, they beat them downfield. That's where I get mad. The Chargers beat them downfield the whole game. Those corners were chasing their receivers. It's not like the Chargers had the speedy receivers out there. Keenan Allen wasn't out there. Not that he's like electric, but he's a smart route runner. I mean, he's plenty fast enough, obviously. The Saints were playing chase with their DBs, and the Chargers went away from that. So that was stupid. Kept going with the runs. You don't have your best back in the game. I'm fine with Kelly and Jackson. They're okay. They're solid. I mean, obviously you wish you were better there, but you kind of are with Eckler, and he's just not there though. But insisting on too many runs, that was pretty much mistakes there. Missed extra point cost them early. The game may not have went to overtime. There probably would have been a 2-point conversion from the Saints though, so I guess you can't say that. And the missed field goal in the last drive, but kind of to go back to that, the play calling on that last drive. I mean, you saved your timeouts, but you come out and run the ball. You run the ball, you don't have that explosive Eckler guy. You run the ball, you call a timeout. It's a waste of a play, waste of a timeout. You didn't have, even with 3 timeouts, you didn't have all the time in the world. You didn't. You had under a minute. That's just bad. It's just bad. Like, how many yards do you really expect to get? What's like the maximum you expect to get? It can't be all that much where it's worth it. Even more yards than what they got is not worth it. It's just pure stupidity. You just kept playing small ball. Small ball, small ball. We'll inch our way into field goal range. Keep in mind, this is stupid enough as it is, but keep in mind, they've been beating them deep all damn day, all night. And they're playing small ball. And then on 3rd and 1, still in their own territory, but pretty close to midfield. Small ball is kind of working in terms of gaining yardage, but not really working with the clock and then trying to save your timeouts. So 3rd and 1, they take a deep shot. It works out. Multiple coverage there, multiple guys. Mike Williams makes a ridiculous jump, a ridiculous grab there. And I'll come back to the Saints. There's things that happen in the meantime with the Saints, but I'm going on longer than I wanted to in this game. Going on an Anthony Lynn rant here. So going back, 3rd and 1. So that's when you finally take the shot. 3rd and 1, where if you don't get it, you got to punt. You actually have to punt the ball, which shouldn't even been an option. But it paid off. It worked. But think about it. That's a low conversion play, low percentage. How many guys are there? You're relying on Mike Williams to make that jump ball. It worked out, but that's low percentage. So basically, you played small ball. You played to rely on a crazy Mike Williams catch just to attempt a 50-yard. It's long. 50 yards, pretty far. Field goal on a guy that you don't really, it's not the best kicker in the league. Guy missed the extra point. Just the process there. You basically you ran too much clock. You played small ball. You played to rely on Mike Williams too much, even though he made the play. And you played. The bottom line is you played to kick a 50-yard field goal. Anthony Lynn deserved to miss that kick, not the team or anything, but that's what happens. I think you could have got much better position. Saints were focused on keeping you out of good field goal range. They succeeded. You could have beat them deep though. But kind of going back to the Saints, I think Kamara's that catch on the sideline, running back catch down the sideline, but more like a receiver there, was probably the play of the game. Taysom Hill plays were not working. I was questioning them. The big moments, you take Drew Brees off, you put Taysom Hill in. It just questions everything, really. You can question that on so many levels. But it ends up working. After that Kamara catch, he runs one in. Was surprised that kind of goes back to this too. I'm surprised the Chargers didn't call a timeout because they didn't look like they were ready for that. The other times they kind of had a spy. They had somebody on him. They did not have anybody on him that one. You didn't want to call a timeout because you wanted to save him because you wanted to play small ball. That's kind of where it goes to. So you didn't take a timeout. I'd rather Gus Bradley be the head coach. He's a really good defensive mind. I think he would have taken, he probably called. I don't know if he did actually, but I think he would have taken a timeout. So I question the coaching on every level. Chargers kind of choked that game away, missed kicks. Poor coaching. Players played well enough to win. Another thing I'll highlight, I talked about Drew Brees, getting himself out of that hole, which is very hard to do. Drew Brees able to do it. So that was fantastic. Kamara's big catch. Kamara, pretty big game. other guys played good. Something David Onyemata, he had a big time run stop. He had a big time run stop, and kind of in the middle second half of this game, I think it was. And people will remember it. People will remember it, but it will kind of go unnoticed. I think that was a huge play in that game. The Chargers were that was one of their better drives, actually. I thought this was for sure points. On a first down, he pushed them back several yards. It's hard to push a guy, 5-6 yards back, push a team back that far, and that made everything harder from there, and that made them punt. So I thought that was a huge play that will kind of go unnoticed. People will remember it. Because I'll say it and people will remember, oh yeah, that was a pretty big play. But I think it'll go unnoticed in terms of that was a huge play in the game. Overtime, Saints look like they're going to score a touchdown. Chargers clutch up. They stop to a field goal. They get a chance, and then they have that fourth down play. I don't like it. He almost got it. Once again, you rely on Mike Williams too much. He almost got it, so you almost look like not a genius, but you almost look okay. But I don't even like having that route on that play. I don't like having that at all. I think you're better off with the jump ball. Again, Mike Williams wins the jump balls. Everyone's beating them deep all day, and you go away from it. But against the slant, Marshawn Lattimore wraps up. It's a great play by him. Demario Davis, after a couple times looking for it, comes over the top of him and kind of pulls him back. But more importantly, he holds. He blocks Mike Williams from reaching the ball out, which he was very near of doing. He couldn't do it, but he was going to. And he was probably, Mike Williams is long, I think he was going to get it. So Demario Davis, big time play there. Probably forgetting some stuff, but I want to recap this real quick. Normally I don't recap these games. We're on to week 6. Now we're actually on to week 6 here. Plenty of content throughout the week here. So I'm really excited about that. A lot of videos coming in the next few days here because a lot of content got pushed back. But power rankings, predictions, score predictions, plenty more on the way. We have a Patreon, Twitter. That Twitter's a must follow. Everything you heard in these videos are probably already said on Twitter, so it's a must follow there. Link down below. Appreciate everyone for their support. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.